The woman collapsed beside his table before anyone else even noticed. A glass shattered across the restaurant floor. Plates rattled. Several people froze in shock. But while everyone stared, one exhausted single father rushed forward without thinking twice. What happened next would change his life forever. Before we begin, if you believe kindness still matters and that one good deed can change a life, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Heartwarming Tales for more inspiring stories. It was a bright afternoon in early spring when 38-year-old Rowan Mercer sat in a small family restaurant on the edge of town. The lunch crowd filled the room with quiet conversations and the clinking of dishes. Rowan looked tired, the kind of tired that sleep alone couldn't fix. Dark circles rested beneath his eyes, and his work shirt showed signs of years of use. Life had not been easy since losing his wife 6 years earlier. Every day followed the same routine. Rowan worked long hours repairing air conditioning systems, rushed home to care for his 11-year-old son, Finn, helped with homework, cooked dinner, cleaned the house, and somehow found enough energy to do it all again the next morning. Money was always tight. Some months were harder than others. But Rowan never complained. His son was his entire world. That afternoon, he had finally treated himself to a simple lunch after completing a difficult repair job nearby. Across the room sat a woman who looked completely out of place in the modest restaurant. She wore elegant clothing, yet her expression carried a sadness that expensive things could never hide. Then it happened. The woman suddenly grabbed the edge of her table. Her face turned pale. Before anyone could react, she collapsed. For a few seconds, the restaurant stood frozen. Rowan was already moving. Years earlier, he had completed emergency first aid training through a workplace safety program. He knelt beside the woman and quickly checked her condition. Several restaurant employees hurried over while Rowan calmly instructed someone to call emergency services. He stayed with her, keeping her stable until paramedics arrived. As they prepared to take her away, the woman slowly opened her eyes. For a brief moment, her gaze met Rowan's. Gratitude filled her expression, though she was too weak to speak. Then she was gone. Rowan paid for his lunch and returned to work. To him, it was simply what any decent person should have done. Days passed. Life continued exactly as before. Bills still piled up on the kitchen counter. Finn still needed new school shoes. Rowan still worked from sunrise until evening. Then, on a clear weekday afternoon, something unusual happened. A long black luxury car rolled slowly down his modest street. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Children stopped riding their bicycles. The vehicle came to a stop directly in front of Rowan's small home. A sharply dressed older man stepped out and approached the front door. When Rowan answered, confusion immediately crossed his face. The man introduced himself as Alistair Grant, personal driver and assistant to a woman named Celeste Harrington. The name meant nothing to Rowan. Until Alistair reminded him of the restaurant. The woman he had helped was Celeste. Rowan suddenly remembered. Alistair explained that Celeste had suffered a severe medical episode caused by extreme exhaustion and stress. Doctors later told her that Rowan's quick response may have prevented a far worse outcome. But that wasn't why the driver had come. There was something else. Something Celeste wanted him to see. Alistair handed Rowan a sealed envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. As Rowan read, his hands began to tremble. Celeste revealed that she was one of the wealthiest business owners in the country. Her companies employed thousands of people. Yet despite all her success, she had spent years feeling increasingly alone. The day she collapsed had been one of the darkest periods of her life. She wrote about how, while lying on the restaurant floor, she remembered seeing dozens of faces around her. Most looked concerned but hesitant. Only one person immediately acted. A stranger. A tired single father who expected nothing in return. For days afterward, she couldn't stop thinking about that moment. The letter ended with an invitation. Celeste wanted Rowan and Finn to visit her estate for lunch. At first, Rowan refused. He felt uncomfortable. People from different worlds rarely crossed paths. He worried there might be expectations attached. But Finn encouraged him. A week later, father and son arrived. The estate was breathtaking. Rolling green gardens stretched beneath a bright blue daytime sky. Elegant fountains sparkled in the afternoon sunlight. Yet what surprised Rowan most wasn't the wealth. It was Celeste herself. She greeted them warmly and spent hours listening to their story. She learned about Rowan's struggles after losing his wife. She listened as Finn spoke proudly about his father working multiple jobs to provide for him. She saw the quiet sacrifices Rowan never mentioned. By the end of the afternoon, something unexpected happened. Celeste offered Rowan a position. One of her charitable foundations focused on helping struggling families and widowed parents. She needed someone trustworthy to oversee community outreach programs. The salary was more than Rowan had ever earned. The hours would allow him to spend evenings with Finn. Most importantly, the work would help people facing challenges similar to his own. Rowan was speechless. For the first time in years, hope felt real. Months passed. The change transformed their lives. The constant financial pressure disappeared. Finn joined activities at school he had previously been unable to afford. Rowan spent more time at home and less time worrying about overdue bills. But the greatest reward wasn't financial. Working with struggling families reminded Rowan that compassion could travel farther than anyone imagined. He helped single parents find resources, assisted children needing support, and created programs that reached hundreds of people. One afternoon, while reviewing community reports, Rowan received another letter from Celeste. This one contained only a few simple sentences. She thanked him. Not for saving her life, but for reminding her what truly mattered. She explained that wealth had surrounded her with people seeking advantages, favors, or opportunities. Rowan had been different. His kindness came with no expectations. And that, she wrote, was priceless. Years later, Rowan often thought back to that ordinary afternoon at the restaurant. A lunch break. A stranger in need. One small decision. Most people spend their lives waiting for life-changing moments, never realizing those moments often arrive disguised as ordinary opportunities to help someone else. Because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. Sometimes a hand offered to a stranger becomes the bridge to an entirely new future. And sometimes the person you save ends up saving you right back. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who believes kindness still exists in the world. Special request: comment below with the words "Kindness changes lives" if you believe one good deed can create a ripple effect that reaches farther than we ever imagine. And remember, no act of kindness is ever wasted. You never know whose life you may change or how that kindness may one day find its way back to you.